Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, October 4th, 2024. First, I do want to apologize for my voice. Um, that's what happens when you're a diehard Met fan and they hit a 3-run home run to win and advance to face the Phillies. This is going to be fun as a Mets fan, and I interact with Philly fans a lot, being a weather forecaster for the northern mid-Atlantic, and all I could say is this is going to be a heck of a series. One way or another, there's going to be a lot of emotion and a lot of fun. And the good news is that it looks like the weather, for once, no rainouts, no doubleheader insanity, just a good weather for the upcoming series. We'll talk about that and more. First, let's talk about, and by the way, I think I re-listened to that ninth inning about 60 times this morning while forecasting. Just hit replay, replay, replay. I am going to remember it for the rest of my life, and that's why you are a baseball fan. That's just the feeling of it. But on to the weather. We have the tropics here, and here's the good news. These two storms are not going to impact us. But boy, are they powerful. Well, especially this one, Kirk. Kirk is a Category 4 hurricane. I would not be surprised if this actually was a Category 5 hurricane for some time last night. The reason why I say that is that a lot of this is measurement by satellite picture because you don't have the access to a lot of the observations like you would if it's a storm is close. So, for example, if this storm was, let's say, closer to the Leeward Islands or to the north of Puerto Rico, then you could get Air Force reconnaissance planes out there to really measure what the strength of the storm is. One thing that could be interesting in the future is that you get some drones to kind of fly out there. You get a boat out here, maybe, and you get some drones flying into the storm to collect data. That could be something in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if it's within the next 5, the way technology is improving. But for now, we have satellite data, which is absolutely outstanding. And so we measured at about 145 mile per hour winds. But it looks like this is going to be the peak strength. Why? This trough right here, you're going to start to see vertical wind shear start to influence this storm. You already start to see some of the influence on the western side of the circulation, and that's going to turn Kirk northward. Now, as Kirk is moving to the northwest and eventually turning north, the outflow influence on Leslie is reducing, and that is allowing this storm to steadily organize and get itself better positioned to become a hurricane that is going to be tracking right in this area, which again will be under favorable conditions. And under those favorable conditions, we will see the potential here for more interaction with this trough. Oh, yeah. And by the way, while we look off to the west, we have this festering feature. Now, this festering feature is the remnants of a tropical system that was in the Pacific that moved into Mexico, and now it is interacting with this disturbance here that we've been watching and a frontal boundary. So 3 disturbances interacting that could, about 40% chance, develop into some sort of tropical low, or it could just be a regular wave of low pressure. Either way, it's going to be lining up to set up the potential for some rainfall here around Florida. So, unfortunately, it looks like the potential for some flooding here in Florida over the next couple of days with this disturbance. But for the most part, we're protected. This is the upper level winds for the Atlantic. There you have Kirk, very well developed outflow and just a purely strong, developed tropical low here. And then you got this trough. You have the polar trough and the subtropical jet stream trough. They're actually aligned here in the Western Pacific, as opposed to what's going on in North America, which we'll talk about in a moment. This setup here basically acts like a goalie. All right. So let's say if you're into soccer, you're into hockey, or as they call soccer, football. This right here is your defensive line here. Okay. And this feature here is going to turn any system, this one or this one, Leslie or Kirk, and send them right back into the Central Atlantic. Now, this could be interesting in terms of influences on the NAO development, but right now it looks like because it's tracking basically to the northeast and more towards the northeastern Atlantic, that influence is going to be muted a bit, but it's something I am going to keep an eye on because that could be a bit of a wild card here. But the overall theme here is that this trough is going to pick up and turn each one of these storms. Leslie's going to take a little bit longer, but eventually it will turn to the northwest as well, and then to the north and northeast. Leslie's going to have the potential here once it gets out of this outflow influence right here. This is going to start to subside as Kirk pulls away, and what you're going to have as a result here is in this area here the ability for Leslie to intensify into a strong hurricane, category 2, category 3, possible before it gets turned out. So, thank the Western Atlantic trough that is kicking these storms off to our east. And then we have our disturbance out here that we're going to keep an eye on. Again, this trough here, this persistent trough here that's been around Texas, well, that's going to kick it off towards Florida. And then the polar trough keeps us safe as well. So for the northern Atlantic so far, I'm not expecting any type of tropical impacts really for the rest of the season for the northern mid-Atlantic, even with remnant low pressure systems. So why is that the case? Why can I say that in such a dominant and confident manner? Well, first and foremost, we have our data here, which clearly shows nothing developing anywhere near us. The storm tracks are away from us. And you can see the influence of Leslie here that's going to be turning to the north and northeast. Anytime you get a storm turning to the north this far out, basically to the east of 70 West, you pretty much can say that the East Coast is safe. Unless there's something very, very weird that happens, like an upper level low around North Carolina or something of that nature. But that typically doesn't happen in the summer and fall. So this is a great sign. And then we have another tropical wave that comes off the African coast in a couple of days, and that could develop. But again, that's turning to the northwest and to the north very, very early. So again, no real significant threat for us. But why am I confident that we're likely going to be seeing a significant decrease in activity? Well, the MJO. I've been talking about this for quite some time. I said once the MJO moves back towards the neutral and then phase 4, 5, and 6, this season is over. And essentially, that is what we're setting up here. This is a lot of sinking air. This is what we saw throughout much of July and August and the first half of September. We're moving out of our positive, favorable phase, and we're moving towards a unsupportive phase. It's not as strong as what we saw in July and August, but remember, now we're heading towards the end of the season here. It's not like we've moved past the peak and we're moving towards the decline. The end of the season is typically around November 1st. You could get a storm pop off November 5th, even December 1st in some rare cases. But for the most part, the bulk of the season is done by the time we get to November 1st. And as you can see, as we get past mid-October, we have a lot of sinking air here over the tropical Atlantic, right? So a lot of activity here in the Pacific. This is going to really, really be interesting to see because you're going to have tropical systems developing out here in the Western Pacific, i.e. typhoons. And if you get a category typhoon over the next 15, 20 days over the Western Pacific curving to the east of Japan and heading towards the Aleutians, that could really enhance the trough and produce some mischief here for the end of the month of October, maybe early November. So it'll be interesting to see with all of this enhancement of activity going on here. So just something, I don't have anything right now, but just something to put in the back of your mind as we head towards the end of the month for some mischief. And in the meantime, we are moving into a environment where the Eastern Pacific Oscillation is going from a positive to a neutral state. The North Atlantic Oscillation is going from a negative to a slightly positive state. And so when I see these two signals, typically this means to me, hey, this pattern is about to become a lot more progressive. And you can see that here in the latest EPS guidance. Very, very fast moving, changing weather pattern. Okay. Where your troughs and ridges, unlike beforehand, where you had that block really set up here, like this negative NAO block that shows up, but guess what? It gets knocked down very quickly. So what we're moving towards is this evolution where we have a lot more progressive, fast moving low pressure systems and cold fronts, not a lot of moisture. And the other thing, too, in this development, the polar and subtropical jet streams are not aligned very well over North America, which is typical for this time of year. And so a lot of your moisture is down towards the subtropical jet stream, and a lot of your fast moving cold fronts are in the polar jet stream, and the two simply don't meet. When does this happen? This is a great time to talk about this. This signal here that's showing up here is during this transition right here. A lot of people think that you get a lot of storms with strongly negative NAO signals. You can get a repeat, but you don't get a start. Okay. Most of your worst storms on the East Coast, whether it's in the fall or winter, occur when you're in this area right here, either going from positive to negative or negative to positive. In this period right here, is where you can get a storm signal starting and ending. So it's kind of like the bookends, right? And so this signal here is usually a bookend towards the end of a period of blocky weather and active weather. And when it goes from positive to negative, it's the start of a stormy weather pattern. And then during the time period that is in the negative NAO, then you kind of get a repeat of storms or a repeat of the pattern that you happen to be in. In the fall, that typically leads to a rather progressive weather pattern. So, again, what I'm seeing here is a lot of fast moving cold fronts and then some influence from the Pacific here towards the middle and end of the month, leading to milder conditions. I've been saying, and I still believe this is true, that a lot of these cold anomalies here are a little bit overdone. I like the Southeast just because of a rainfall threat, but unless we get some really strong radiational cooling here and especially over in the northern Mid-Atlantic, New England, I can see this, but northern Mid-Atlantic, if you get strong radiational cooling, then your low temperatures will be well below normal. High temperatures, not too bad. I mean, a little bit cool, but not anything that's excessive, right? So maybe a half degree below normal rather than 3 to 4 degrees below normal. So again, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm not seeing any warm weather patterns, that is for sure, but I do think we rebound back towards near normal, and the mild guidance has shown that again is bone dry. Why is it bone dry? Well, let's take a look at some of our data. So right now we have tranquil weather conditions in place. It's actually beautiful out there. It was in the upper 40s here in the Poconos. I'm sorry, the Catskills. But now we are rebounding into the lower to mid 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s in your suburbs, lower 60s in your urban areas. It's pretty nice out there. Now, on the surface map and radar from WeatherTap, you have a few isolated showers here, nothing that's really too impressive. This isn't reaching the ground. This popped up with some observations supporting of a very weak shower. But other than that, it is very, very quiet. Okay. This cold front's coming through, not a lot of lifting with it. Well, what's going on here? Well, let's take a look at the latest data here. Again, this is more towards North America. Let's pivot this. And you can see how the subtropical jet stream here is not aligned with the polar jet stream. So what's happening is that we're not getting that strong moisture transport. It's all getting locked down towards the Gulf of Mexico. So you're not getting a strong moisture transport. These troughs in the polar jet stream are moving very quickly. We've basically lost a lot of the influence of our block. It's been displaced a little bit further to the north. So these are progressive, fast-moving cold fronts that are marching their way through. And as a result, they're not able to pick up a lot of moisture. So when we take a look at the infrared satellite picture, not seeing a lot of strong lifting anywhere near us. Here's our cold front. We have a nice little thunderstorm complex that fired up here around Illinois and just exiting out of Iowa. This is already starting to weaken. You're getting some strong lifting up here, but not very impressive. And that's going to be the theme. A lot of your strong forcing, a lot of your strong lifting is going to be focused more towards the St. Lawrence River Valley as we move forward. So when you take a look at our visible satellite picture, basically you end up with a lot of mix of sun and clouds. Not too bad for the weekend, to be honest with you. Yeah, there could be an isolated shower that you have to dodge, but for the most part, you're just dealing with a lot of mix of sun and clouds. So let's dive into this forecast, and we'll jump to the 500 millibar PVA here, just to kind of show the point here A lot of your forecast, a lot of your forcing is to the north. So again, we get the short wave ridge move through Saturday through Sunday. So yeah, this is going to be absolutely beautiful for much of this weekend. Sunday night, here comes another trough. This could spark off a few isolated, widely scattered showers here Sunday night into Monday. So we're talking like 10 p.m. Sunday. So if you have any outdoor plans, I don't know, going to a baseball game, something of that nature, won't be a factor. Okay. So we're talking about like 10, 11 p.m. unless this game starts at 7 and you go to extra innings to like the 12th inning or something, then yeah, you could get hit by a shower if it's going that late. But I don't want to see that happening. So again, this cold front moves through. And then after that, you have this upper level low to our north, sending a few short waves through, but not a lot of strong lifting for the rest of the week. The rest of the week is quiet. So again, if you're interested in Mets Phillies game for the NLDS, guess what? No weather impacts. None. Okay, no worries about delays, postponements, anything of that nature, because you have a nice convergent confluent flow right over us, which means high pressure and tranquil weather conditions. And you know what? Let me jump to the moisture output here. And again, nice dry air coming in for the weekend. Not much going on. Here comes the cold front for late Sunday night. We're talking about 10, 11 p.m. By the time we get to 8 a.m., that's pushing off the coast. So your rainfall threat for the week is really going to be from about 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Sunday night into Monday morning. You also see that very nicely here on the relative humidity. I mean, you're below 10% here on Saturday night, so that's going to be pretty nice. And then here we go on Sunday night into Monday morning. Now, notice we're not seeing a strong concentration like you're seeing up here, like 100%, 99%. This is more like 70, 80%. So this tells me that the QPF might be overdone and we're dealing more with widely scattered showers rather than scattered showers. So certainly, that is something just to put in the back of your mind. And as far as the air masses are concerned, we have two primary influences here: maritime, polar. Yeah, you get a little bit of tropical trying to sneak in, but really gets knocked down pretty quickly ahead of these cold fronts. And the bulk of this warming occurs late in the afternoon, evening hours when the sun's already setting. So who cares if you got 850 millibar temperature spiking when the sun's already set? It doesn't matter. For the rest of the forecast period, you're really influenced by polar Pacific air mass. You could actually get your first frost in the highest elevations next week. We're talking about like maybe Wednesday night into Thursday morning, especially in the higher elevations, the Hudson Highlands, the Poconos, Catskills, Hudson River Valley. Could get pretty chilly. Then that moderates pretty quickly. And you can see we don't really see a shift in more of a Pacific driven air mass, which can moderate really, really significantly until the end of next weekend. We're talking about temperatures possibly spiking a bit more towards the 70s and maybe even touching 80 in this setup, but then you have another cold front on the way. So overall, a very quiet weather pattern for us. So for today, scattered cloud cover, high temperatures in the lower to mid 70s on the coast, mid to upper 70s everywhere else. Tonight into tomorrow morning. Again, I can't rule out an isolated shower late tonight into early tomorrow morning. I think a lot of this is overdone. I think a lot of this doesn't reach the ground because we have a lot of dry air in the mid levels. But let's say there could be a rogue isolated shower in the Poconos. Okay. Low temperatures will range from the upper 40s to lower 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s along the coast. For tomorrow afternoon, sky or cloud cover, high temperatures in the mid to upper 60s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast. For Sunday, sky cloud cover is expected, low temperatures in the lower to mid 40s in your higher elevations, upper 40s to lower 50s everywhere else. High temperatures on Sunday afternoon will range from the mid to upper 60s over the northern interior, upper 60s to lower 70s along the coast, and lower to mid 70s in the Delaware River Valley. Late Sunday night into Monday morning, that cold front moves through with a few widely scattered isolated showers. Look for low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 50s over the northern interior, upper 50s to lower 60s along the coast. For Monday afternoon, sky cloud cover is expected. with high temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 60s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, high pressure will be in control, and you can even push that into Friday with sky cloud cover expected, tranquil conditions throughout the forecast period. Low temperatures through this forecast period will range from the upper 30s to lower 40s over the northern interior, mid to upper 40s in your suburbs, and upper 40s to lower 50s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 50s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s along the coast, and mid 60s, possibly touching 70 degrees in the Delaware River Valley through this forecast period. Absolutely beautiful weather, slightly below normal, but not anything that is too crazy. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe out there.